Here we are in Mammoth Lakes, California with the Mammoth Track Club and a huge part of Team Riot. You know, myself, Josh Cox, Sarah Hall. What we'd like to do today is basically talk to you about stronger feet and how those strong feet incorporate into A, faster running, and B, greater endurance. And so what we do with our group up here is we do an exercise routine that we call our rudiment exercise routine. It's a series of skips and hops and various things like that. But what we'd like to show you today is basically what Sarah and Josh do here with what we call our skip circuit. So what we're going to show you here is skips for height that Josh is going to show you, and then skips for distance. And what we're going to do is kind of talk about how these two exercises incorporate into building stronger feet, stronger lower leg muscles, and therefore greater running speed and running economy. So what we'd like to start with is have Josh show you what our skips for height look like. Okay. So Josh is going to come over here and basically give us an example of a skip for height, Josh. Great, nice job. So what Josh is showing to us here is that a skip for height is really a pretty plyometric or ballistic type of exercise where he's using the gastrocnemius muscle, which is the upper outer belly calf muscles up right below your knee, that are our kind of tail end of our foot strike. So they're the last push we get to propel us forward. What he's also doing is getting a great amount of hip flexion when he does that stride. So he's creating a lot of vertical amplitude, but a lot of height into that knee so that that running stride gets longer through greater power through the foot. Let's see what that looks like again, Josh. So you can see the knee really goes up and above. So it's an exaggerated running stride. Now what also happens with that running stride is Josh uses his arms in a more exaggerated fashion, but basically to exemplify what great power running is. So power running is going to get those elbows and arms coming up a little higher on the front, but really where he generates a lot of power is the back end of that stride where the arm pushes back and releases. What the right arm does in the push back and release is going to propel and help out with what that left calf and lower foot are doing. So let's see what the arms look like in coordination with those legs. So really big push, the arms are exaggerated behind, and that's a great exercise. So it's a really good one to do to really work that gastrocnemius all the way down into the foot. Thanks a lot, Josh. So now we're going to take Sarah here and basically show lower leg in terms of the soleus muscle in the calf, and those guys jump into the plantar fascia and really create a lot of power and force, but if they're weak, you know, we get some ankle stability issues. So what Sarah's going to do is show an exercise that we do with these skips for distance to create a lot of lower leg strength. Sarah, show us what a skip for distance looks like. Great. So now comparing what Sarah did to Josh did, it's a very low knee lift, but more extension through the lower leg. Now what happens with that is Sarah will land in a bent position, which then activates the soleus muscle first as opposed to the gastroc, which is what Josh did. She's going to roll through that foot, and the power with the eccentric load on that soleus is going to create a greater strength and drive through the foot more upon the landing phase of that running stride as opposed to the explosion takeoff phase of what Josh did. Let's see that again, Sarah. So she's getting a lot of power through that lower leg, and it's really nice job there. Now with the arms are very similar to what Josh did, but just at a lower amplitude. So the arms are going to be much more like you would do when you run a half marathon, that they're going to come up in front and go back, but just to a lesser degree. Let's see what those look like. Nice. So basically what we're seeing is the arms are counterbalancing the legs. So she's going to get a push back on the arm, but not as far because she's not going as high. So the idea with the skips for distance and the skips for height, they work the lower legs with both the gastrocs and the soleus to create a better upper leg support towards that ankle and into the foot. How did that feel, Josh?
Felt pretty good. Feeling pretty dynamic, pretty powerful.
Nice. You feel like you can get a little quicker out of that?
Absolutely. Quick question though, when we're doing these, how far should we be doing? 10, 20, 30 meters?
Nice, good question. So what we typically like to do in a circuit like this is basically you're gonna go about 20 to 30 meters for that exercise. And you know, in feet, that's maybe about 60 to 90 feet, but that's plenty to get good work done without creating residual fatigue.
And then how many runs through?
You know, typically one, but if let's say you're, learning it new, maybe you're gonna do 2 sets of it.
Okay.
Yeah, good. How did that feel, Sarah?
It felt good. I could feel getting the pop when I really activated my foot in that.
Nice, good job, excellent.
Yeah, I was curious, how often would I do these in one?
So, okay, good question. So typically this is a routine that we here, maybe do twice a week. In the initial part, it's gonna be a strengthening side of it, but then it becomes what we call just a maintenance routine. And typically this is I like as a secondary routine, or maybe after your run if you're only running once a day, because it kind of resets the system after you've just been out running for an hour, 10 miles, whatever it is. I think it's a good retune because the legs get tired and the nervous system kind of fatigues a little bit, so it brings good form back to it so that when you start the next day, you're ready to go. Good, and so that's our skips for distance and skips for height routine. Try it and see what you think.